Assalamu alaikum. Hello, everyone. I'm Munisa Mukhtarova, and I'm representing Tashkent Metropolitan University here. Our today's podcast is going to have a slightly different format. It will be conducted in the English language because we have invited a very special guest, a high ranking guest. She's the country director of the British Council Uzbekistan, Denise Waddingham. Denise has a wealth of experience in the international education, having played a significant role in the British Council's efforts to support education in Uzbekistan. So, our discussion today will focus on the most pressing issues regarding education, such as pedagogy, teacher development, English language teaching, and we'll also be tackling some of the issues regarding IELTS testing and the roles of the institutions like British Council in supporting these areas. But before we start, I'd like to thank Denise for finding some spare time in her busy schedule to come and do this podcast with us. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you very
joining
much
us.
for having me, Munisa. It's really
Yeah.
good to be here.
Yeah, it's a great pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
So why don't we begin with a more general question?
Mhm.
The role of the British Council in contributing to the development of the education system in Uzbekistan. Could you share some of your perspectives on how the British Council contributes to the education system here and how it aligns with the current academic reforms?
Okay. Yes, of course. So it's great. As I said, lovely to be here. Always good to discover one of the new universities, one of the new institutions. So
Yeah.
So the British Council's been working in Uzbekistan for almost 30 years. So it's like 29 years at the moment.
Wow.
So we were opened in 1996, and officially we were opened by the then Prince Charles, who obviously is now King Charles. So it's great that he's been in Uzbekistan and was here to open our first office here. Of course, we've changed offices since then. And the British Council's remit is always about building trust and understanding between the United Kingdom and other countries around the world. And we do that through education, through English language, and through arts and culture. And that's been our mission the whole time we've been here, and that's what we still do. So obviously, we're here to talk specifically about education and English, really. So everything that the British Council does is done in really close collaboration with the two ministries, so the Ministry of Preschool and School Education and the Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Innovations. And we really work very closely with them. I mean, there's no point in a foreign organization coming in and doing something that's not contributing to the efforts of the Uzbekistan government and the priorities and the education reform. And I've been here for nearly 4 years, and it's been an incredibly exciting time to be working in Uzbekistan with all of the different things that are going on. So obviously, some of the priorities around internationalization, around professional development of teachers, improving the status of teachers in Uzbekistan. That's another priority for the government. So obviously we work closely to find UK institutions to work here, to find areas of joint collaboration. So these are some of the things that we've been doing. With the Ministry of Preschool and School Education, we actually co-chair the English Reform Steering Committee. So we have quarterly meetings where everyone working in English reform. So usually the Americans join us, what the British Council is doing, what the American councils, what the American embassy's been doing, and other people all get together to talk about how English reform is going on. So everything is done very much in close collaboration.
You mentioned you work very closely with these two ministries of ours. And I remember we also attended in one of your initiatives offered by the British Council as a university before. It was a different institution, but I remember that. And we took, it was really beneficial and we got a lot of valuable experience then. So talking about higher education and international collaboration, global collaborations, as you know, our TMU, our university, is a very young, growing institution seeking to establish international partnerships. So, does the British Council support higher education institutions in building global collaborations and enhancing academic exchanges in any way?
hmm Yeah, so we have quite a number of priorities that we're currently working on within higher education. As I said, we work really closely with the ministry on that. So there's one area that I think that you were referring to before when we're looking at quality. And so we've got a big project around quality assurance.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
and
that was
yeah. So
related. Yeah,
it's look
with
you
quality.
yeah. So the Quality Assurance Project, we work with the Quality Assurance Agency of the United Kingdom. So they've been visiting very regularly to Uzbekistan.
Mhm.
We have a working group that involves a number of different both public and some private universities who are looking at issues. And we've been working with the Ministry of Higher Education to look at developing a quality code so that there's really a code that works for Uzbekistan that needs to be upheld. So that's something, quite high level, supporting the reform. We're also looking at the area of university governance and showing what good practice for university governance looks like. And we've also got a group of rectors, group of institutions working together to
The
look
leadership
at
team and the
yes,
faculty
exactly,
team. Yeah.
looking at developing a governance code for higher education in Uzbekistan as well. Then, of course, there's so many different transnational education providers. The UK is very popular for that. We've got 11 or 12 universities here operating in Uzbekistan that are partnerships with the UK, and many more, happening, or smaller projects happening within different universities. And the British Council's role, we can put people in touch with each other. We can make recommendations, or we can send out notifications in the UK if there's an Uzbekistan partner who's particularly seeking a partner to work in a specific area, and then universities can apply through that process if they're interested. So that's one
What
way.
would be the process? Like, do you make an announcement for the higher?
Yeah,
Do you
so
send out some
sometimes there's a call that's put out. So if there's really a project, so I mean, if you
so
go,
private universities like ours can really apply?
yes. I mean, depend different things. I mean, originally, if you take the example of the university, the Westminster International University, so the first one here, that was a government to government project, of course. So that opportunity was, I know it's 22 years ago, but that opportunity was advertised in the UK for UK universities, anybody who was interested in potentially setting up a partnership with Uzbekistan to apply. And of course, there's a whole process. There's application processes and shortlisting processes. And at that time, the University of Westminster was the successful university. And that's how that partnership started. I mean, there are different forms of partnerships. So we've got some really interesting partnerships here. Sometimes the British Council's involved. We're not always involved. Some partnerships can happen without us, but quite often visiting universities from the UK will come and see us, or will ask our advice, or, want to know about the context here. And so we support by providing information.
You could bring two institutions together and then you stay aside.
Yeah, of
yourself
course.
and
Yeah,
let them do.
yeah, absolutely. We also provide opportunities in the UK for Uzbek institutions and Uzbek faculty to go and attend conferences, for example. This is really a great way for increasing international collaboration. People can attend
Making some
conferences.
connections,
Exactly. That's I think that's one of the key points of the British Council. It's really networking and making, allowing those kind of collaborations to happen. So we have an annual conference in the UK called Going Global, which, well, it's in the UK every other year, and then it's somewhere else in the world, but it's the British Council's higher education conference. It's called Going Global. So we've had Uzbek participants in that conference regularly. We also run events from time to time, specific higher education events that we might take people to. And of course, the United Kingdom runs the Education World Forum every year, which is the biggest gathering in the world of education ministers. And I'm very happy to say that Uzbekistan's been very active in attending.
Okay.
And
who will be supporting? Like, does British Council
it's the British
somehow
Council who supports. So
financially?
Not
or
usually
ministries?
financially, but it's usually that we make the arrangements and we travel as well. So I've been in London the last 4 years with the delegation from Uzbekistan at this particular event. So
Nice.
actually both with, well, the recently former Minister of Preschool and School Education and also the current Minister of Higher Education as well. They've all attended these type of events. So it's a great opportunity to be in the UK and to go out and meet institutions, meet universities, visit, and find people to collaborate with. We also do quite a lot of work on inclusion. I mean, that's a real priority for the British Council. So I understand, the government priorities here for people from disadvantaged economic backgrounds, people with disabilities, and women and girls. So there's quite a lot of initiatives going on.
Regarding inclusivity.
Yeah, inclusivity in
Within
higher
the schools or
education.
higher education?
In higher education. So again, we have an inclusive university working group. We've published a good practice guide for, and it's a great network of people who are really trying to make a difference and think about inclusion, how you can cater for people with disabilities to attend your university, for example, what kind of adaptation you need to make. So we have work going on in that area, and in fact, we held the first inclusive university conference in Uzbekistan in partnership with the Westminster International University. About 3 years ago, and then this group and this kind of active work has developed since then. We also have a Women in STEM scholarship program. So it's very competitive. It's very small, but we've just
Only
had
a few number of women.
Of course, these are master's degrees in the UK, and they're fully funded.
Okay.
So we just had our first two graduates. They recently graduated.
How many do you send in this program?
Well, it's competitive around the eligible
20.
countries. So yeah, overall it's a larger number, but Uzbekistan has to compete with Turkey and Kazakhstan and
With
Georgia and with other groups, and of course it's up to the UK universities who they select. So
and how many so far?
So we've had three Uzbekistans three from Uzbekistan in the past 2 years, and we should have another 2 or 3 going this year. So, but it's great.
It's nice. Yeah. So it's fully funded. It's a master's
It's
program.
fully funded master's program
for a great opportunity and experience.
Women working in science, technology, and engineering, and amazing. So there are lots of different programs that we do and that we get involved in.
Yeah, great. Let's talk about I'm sure there are lots of challenges, as a British Council working in another country. There must be challenges. So in your opinion, what are some of the biggest challenges the education system of Uzbekistan is facing today? And how does the British Council is supporting or addressing these issues? Or is there any way that the institution like yours could come and work together with the institution like ours, and address these issues, for example?
Well, I think some of the things that I've just mentioned. So, how do you address inclusion?
Inclusivity be a problem.
Be part of our network. Come in. Let's develop this sort of good practice together. I mean, we also have a transnational education good practice network as well. So here we're inviting all of the in the universities here that are operating in English to take part in this TNE network. So there you can look at what the challenges are, and we can work together to try to come up with solutions or recommendations, and you can learn from each other. It's been fantastic to see the expansion in access to higher education in Uzbekistan, and obviously the government have really worked very, very hard to rapidly increase the enrollments, and obviously we've seen this huge expansion in private institutions like this one. And as I said, but there's a question around quality and ensuring the quality is there, and that the offer for students is good. So working on programs such as our quality assurance project is also important. Of course, the ministry have just established the new quality assurance agency for Uzbekistan, and we're also very involved working with them.
So you work a lot
we do
closely with
yeah,
the
we work.
governmental
Yeah, we do.
organizations,
We do. Just
agencies.
the UK, our higher education system is one of the best in the world. We have a lot of experience to share. We don't get everything right, and there's lots of new challenges all the time. We've got AI now, and all the things that everyone's battling with. But it's good to work together to try to find resolutions.
Yeah, continuing this topic about the challenges, it's really interesting for me personally to know what about the challenges of working with people in education sector in Uzbekistan? Like, did you have any problems with while you were working with, I don't know, officials or students or educators? Any difficulties there?
Well, I think one of the brilliant things about having been here over the last 4 years is how open Uzbekistan is to the education reform, and and how they're really tackling it.
They're trying to address
exactly. They're making really rapid transformation. So I think that's been really, really positive. So I think of course, the scale of some of the challenges. It's the population size in Uzbekistan. It's the growth of the population. We know that there are not enough schools, and we know worldwide that there aren't enough teachers. I mean, there's a teacher shortage everywhere in the world. So you've got the challenge of attracting people into the profession. And I spoke very briefly at the beginning about raising status of teachers and professionalizing the work, but that's a challenge everywhere. You've got to try to attract people into the teaching profession, and I know again the government here has tried to improve salaries. Obviously there are 10,000 schools, primary, secondary schools across. More school. Well, I think around 10,000 schools.
Yeah, it's a bit more than
10,000, okay. Yeah, but you need to build a lot more, and then
there is a huge demand.
There's a huge demand. Yeah. So I think these are some of the challenges, rather than any particular challenges with personnel. The sanitation, improvements in schools, especially in rural schools. And we know that, around 60%, I think, of schools are working on 2 shifts. So there are big challenges for Uzbekistan to tackle, but it's good to see that, these are being addressed. And so I think that's where a lot of the challenges are. I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Right. What about the differences between UK and Uzbekistan's education system? Having worked extensively here in Uzbekistan's education sector, I'm sure you have observed lots of differences. Are there something particular in I don't know, teaching methodologies and approaches that the Uzbekistan's education need to learn from, or vice versa? Maybe we could teach something new. I don't know. I'm trying to be positive.
Of course. Well, I mean, I think the first thing to say is that I run the British Council. I'm not in classrooms. Yes, I've got lots of international experience, but I'm not really sort of on the ground doing so much operational stuff. A lot of other people know a lot more than I do in terms of the detail. I would say, of course, a lot of your education is traditional, quite traditional, and the teacher is it's teacher centered, whereas I think we've moved quite a long way away from that in the UK. It's much more about being student centered. It's much more about asking questions, critical thinking, those kind of skills, rather than the kind of more traditional way of teaching that I think you're beginning to possibly move away from here.
And our educators and some educational institutions are really moving towards that kind of teaching and learning.
Yeah.
Like student-centered teaching, and moving away from the traditional,
Yeah.
old type of teaching and learning in the classroom. So we are trying to, I think, acquire the new modeling.
Exactly. I mean, I think your students are much better behaved than ours. Probably, I'm sure that much more respectful in general. But that part, in the UK, we're going to challenge a lot more. I think that's something that it's quite different. But yeah, I think that's what it is about. Mutual learning. You learn from each other, and you can bring the best of both sort of systems, I suppose. But I think that investing in teachers, in the understanding that it's professional development. It's not just about having a course for a week, once every few years. It's continuing. It's everyone taking forward their own professional development and being responsible for that. And in that way, you can really improve quality of teaching. So we've been doing quite a large program with the Ministry of Preschool and School Education to look at continuing professional development with English teachers.
Yeah. Speaking of English language teaching in Uzbekistan, at TMU, we have recently launched two specialized programs in English language teaching and early childhood education. And what we aim to do with these two programs is to bring practice with the theory together, so much so that when our students graduate from these two programs and go to the real classrooms as teachers, from day one, they should be able to manage a classroom. They should be able to develop their own materials, to use certain technology in their teaching, and to deal with certain behavioral issues. So, in other words, we are trying to give them all of these skills while they're here in the program.
Yeah.
So what about the British Council? How do you see the English language teaching in teaching's future in Uzbekistan? What are the necessary steps that we have to ensure that the teachers and the students are equipped to meet global standards?
It's a big question.
Sorry, I think I complicated the question. No. I mean, what would be the future of English language teaching? What do you think?
Right. Well, I mean, so you're teaching the future teachers here in TMU.
Yeah, in service teachers we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, we don't directly teach English in Uzbekistan. We do in some countries. We actually have teaching centres of British Council. We teach directly in 40 or 50 countries around the world. Here, all of our efforts really are focused on supporting state school English teachers and the higher education institutions who are training the future teachers.
Yeah.
And of course, there's been a huge expansion of that.
Yeah. So you provide professional development programs.
Professional development and for pre-service teacher training and also for in-service teacher training. So we have two different kind of programs going on. Around 15 years ago, we did extensively looked at the pre-service teacher training curriculum for English teachers.
You modified that.
Yeah, we worked with, I think it's about 18 of at the time, there were about 18 preset institutions who were involved in training future English teachers. Of course, that number's increased massively recently. So as far as I understand, there's like 50 or 60 institutions now.
Involved in
both across the state sector and the new private universities who are training future teachers. So we're doing a lot of work around looking at best practice for pre-service teacher training, and actually we have a program that's funded by the UK government. So it's funded with UK aid, and we're working in all 5 countries across Central Asia. So we're actually doing some work with pre-service institutions from across all 5, which is really exciting, and sort of bringing them together.
How do you bring them together, these institutions? I mean, because, and would that be available for the private institutions like ours, if we want to enroll and be, want to take part in that kind of initiatives by the British Council?
Well, we we had a big event in January here where we did bring institutions from different countries in. So that from time to time there are various events. I mean, this is we're only in the second year of this program. So this program that's funded by the UK government. So we're, as I say, we're working with the pre-service teacher training, and we're also looking at in-service systems. So we're working very much with institutions like Avloni. So
Okay.
with Avloni, we've been working to develop the curriculum for the I think it's the 100-hour courses. So we've been working with the Ministry of Preschool and School Education on a national continuing professional development program for the ministry, and we've been working with in-service course design, course trainers with Avloni. We've also been working on modules 1 and 2 of the new, it's a 100-hour inset program for teachers. So we do a lot of work with them. So it's very much in collaboration, of course, with the government here. We've been running a pilot continuing professional development program. It started with 20 schools. So we have cluster trainers, we have school-based champions. We started with 20 schools across the country, then we went to 40 schools, and in the last year we've been working with 116 schools.
Wow,
So
impressive.
actually, and it's been really fantastic. Huge amounts of enthusiasm. We've had some people have gone to the UK for some training to look at how things are done in schools in the UK. So this is a program. This year we will be adding, I think, another 100 schools to the program. So hopefully we'll have around 200 schools involved in this. We're looking at best practice. How do teachers develop in their schools. It's about getting the principals of the schools on board with what's going on.
Not only the faculty,
No,
but
of course.
the leadership
Yeah,
as
so
well.
when we start this program, we bring in the principals. So we have the principals, and then we have English teachers, and of course now it can involve other subject teachers as well. The principles of continuing professional development, they're the same. So
would you require like translators there then, if you are doing it not only with the English language teachers but also with other subject teachers and the leadership? Obviously, they will not be speaking English.
When we bring the leadership in, we have it in with translation, and then once they usually have one day, and then we have longer time with the English teachers. So then it's done generally in English, and obviously how they go about it in their schools. If they're bringing in other subject teachers, yeah, of course they would have some translation.
So when you are involving all of these schools, like you started with a small amount, then 40, now 100. Do you mean like only Tashkent city?
No, it's right across the country. It's right across the country.
Okay.
And they're arranged in clusters. So you'll have one. You'll have your school-based champions in each school, but then you'll have one of the national coordinators, national trainers, who will be responsible for a cluster of schools. So they will have regular meetings, within their region, and then yes, we have occasional.
So you have
events in
the
Tashkent.
trainers and people who are responsible,
Yeah.
going and visiting on site
Absolutely, yeah.
across the country.
So we've basically developed a cadre of trainers and a cadre of school-based champions as well. And so we work with a UK organisation called NILE, Norwich Institute for Language Education.
I'm familiar with NILE.
Yeah, exactly. So NILE have been here many, many, many times, and it's a fantastic program actually. So I think there's a lot of excitement around it.
What do they do? Are they sending their trainers?
So that NILE are coming in and training, and so NILE will, as well as developing the methodology, British Council, NILE, and with Avloni, for example, and with people here, and then they're rolling out training. So initial training for the school champions, and also the master sort of trainers and coordinators. It comes from NILE. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. So a lot of things are going on in the British Council, and many, many initiatives, a lot of projects. That's great, actually. Now, I have a few questions regarding IELTS testing.
Okay.
Recently, there has been a shift from offline to online IELTS testing. So, could you share some of your insights, like why that happened and what are dedicated students who are wishing to, sit the exam and take the IELTS? They have to, what do they have to pay attention to with this online shifting, transitioning? Will that be creating more opportunities, or will there be any obstacles they will have to look out to? Can you share some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think basically, it's interesting that Uzbekistan has been a market that has been very reliant on paper-based exams, and people seem quite nervous or reluctant to move over to computer-based exams. Whereas actually in Kazakhstan, for example, there's far more people taking computer-based exams than paper-based, and that's been the case for quite a while. If you take IELTS on computer, you can get your result in 3 days. So I mean that's fantastic. It's much quicker. I think people shouldn't be too nervous about it. It's not so difficult at all. And I think what we've seen, obviously, we've stopped paper-based testing in Uzbekistan just recently, as you mentioned, and the majority of people are moving over to they're registering now for computer-delivered IELTS, and I hope that as more people have the experience and
they will get more comfortable with
people
that.
will get more confident, and people will be a bit reassured that it's not so difficult. One of the big advantages for us, of course, is within a room of people taking computer-based tests, the questions will all be different. They can be generated, and that's good. So from a security point of view, that's quite advantageous for us. We know that there have been various challenges and issues
with the security and integrity
yes,
of IELTS
exactly.
testing. Yeah,
Because
this is what I was referring to. Like, how are you going to maintain that
because
security?
It's so high stakes, and it's it happens in many countries, and because we the reputation of IELTS is extremely important. People need to be able to trust it. So that's why we take security so seriously. So yeah, we
an online format will really provide more security and integrity rather than offline.
Yeah, definitely helps. I think. Yeah.
Okay.
So
and then even though it's switching from offline to online, nothing else changes. The difficulty level, all the procedures, everything will stay the same. It's just the computer-based.
Yes, exactly.
So students will have to develop more their computer skills, like where to press, not to get nervous, because on paper, all they will have to worry about the level of their English proficiency. But here, they will also have to worry about their computer skills as well, where to press, not to, make a mistake and go to another page or something. What if it doesn't go back? If they needed to, right?
Yeah. But I think it's like with all exams, the better prepared you are, the better you're going to do. There is, you need to be familiar with what's going to happen and what's going to come up. And so we're doing various things to help support, and to try to make sure people are familiar with the format. And so I think, yeah.
Do you offer any sort of, trainings for the online testing? No, right? For example, what I'm thinking about is that, yes, some students who are from the city, from the more developed areas, they might know how to use, computers and everything. But we have lots of other English language learners and who are wishing to take the IELTS testing, who are coming from the very rural areas, from the villages. Maybe they don't have the computer, and that's why they might be even, their nervousness might double and triple. You don't offer trainings.
Well, I think it's more about in some of our marketing and our channels that we're probably
on your website.
Exactly,
they will
providing
have to
some
go
sort of
into
demos and that kind of thing. So we definitely will be rolling out some type of support.
explanations.
At the moment, I don't have the detail on exactly that, and my team will no doubt tell me off, because they'll be saying, yes, we're doing this and this and this and this. But
it might come helpful.
Yeah,
really.
I don't have the detail today.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine. It's quite impressive that we have in Uzbekistan quite a few students or band 9 IELTS holders.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, what can you advise for other students who are really trying hard to get higher scores in IELTS? Just your personal opinion, not as a director of the British Council.
Okay, well, my personal opinion is that you don't need a band 9. You only need a 6.5 or maybe a 6, a 6.5, a 7. I understand people want to do really well, and many people do. I think, some of the people that get a band 9 do take IELTS a lot of times to achieve a band 9. Okay. Yeah. So, I think you should be aiming for what you need for your requirements, and if you're trying to go into university, great.
6.5 for universities overseas, for most universities overseas, I think should do.
It's 6.5.
So you don't have to really go out of your skin.
Well, I don't think it's about being so obsessed with the IELTS score. It's more about, can you actually
improving your English language?
Can you use your English?
Proficiency,
Are you going to be able to understand your course content? If you're coming to TMU and your course is taught in English, you've got to make sure you've got the skills and you've got to carry on.
Can you express yourself in English language?
Yeah. So I think that's, I think it's become fashionable, and people are very excited, and of course it's an amazing achievement. A perfect score, of course that's an amazing achievement. But I think people are, it's a bit fashionable at the moment to talk about it, but actually it's more about, can you use your English properly? Yeah. Can you understand, is it sufficient for what you need it for?
I don't know why, but the IELTS testing is very popular here in Uzbekistan, and amongst youngsters, they are very, very obsessed. Some of them are really obsessed with IELTS. Sometimes I've never taken IELTS, I should admit that. But sometimes when I entered the classroom, the first thing my students, new students, they would ask, like, what's your IELTS score, So they usually assess your credibility by your IELTS score, which is kind of surprising.
And I've heard that from others as well. And, it must be very disappointing as an academic who's worked very, very hard to achieve, the master's degree or the PhD, other stuff,
but nothing works in front of them, and they kind of get disappointed as soon as you say, "Oh, I've never taken IELTS." I'm like, you should see their faces. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do in her course? Yeah. So, but then with the time, they realized that that wasn't the problem. I think we can close on this note, Denise. Okay. For the last part, what would be your wishes to the youngsters of Uzbekistan who are really trying hard in advancing in education, and your wishes to the institutions, higher education institutions like ours, what to do, how to do, your advice?
Well, I think that the youth of Uzbekistan have a bright future ahead of them. I think, there's a really good work ethic here. People are hardworking, people are ambitious. You can see that young people want to achieve a lot of goals. I think, there's some very impressive people, and the number of really young people taking IELTS and doing really, really well, teenagers and stuff, that's really good to see. So yeah, I wish everyone all the luck with their studies and their ambitions, and the country, as it continues to open out and internationalize. I think that's really exciting. I think we see Uzbekistan as sort of wanting to be a bit of an education hub in the region, also Kazakhstan, but I think it's attracting people from other countries, students to come here, and the more your institutions, start to mature and develop and keep the quality and stuff like that. So I think that's very exciting. So it's been fantastically interesting for me to have been here for 4 years, and
you are completing your journey in Uzbekistan.
I'm completing my time here.
Congratulations on your new journey assignment in Turkey.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So I'm I take a piece of my heart, take a piece of Uzbekistan in my heart, kind of thing. everything. But as you mentioned, I'm not going so far away. I'm going to still be kind of in the wider region. I'll be in Turkey. I actually will retain a role for higher education as well. So I'll definitely be watching how everything
Hopefully, you will
develops
be
here.
visiting more in the future.
Yeah,
You will not be too far away, as you mentioned. Yeah.
exactly. So yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights and expertise with us today. It's been a real pleasure to hear about the British Council's role here, the contributions that the British Council is doing to develop our education system. And thank you for your time.
And thank you very much, Manisa, and all the best to Tashkent Metropolitan University.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And to all our viewers, thank you for tuning in. And hopefully, in the future, we'll be interviewing more key figures who are making differences in the lives of our people. Thank you very much.